Chapter 5. ACE the Operational Excellence Pillar. Introduction. For a busy person who may not have time to go through the hundreds of pages of the well-architected framework, this guide serves as an abstract of the Operational Excellence Pillar of the well-architected framework. Understanding the Operational Excellence Pillar will ensure that you are equipped with the knowledge of the operational best practices which you can apply on your workloads in the cloud. The Operational Excellence Pillar. The Operational Excellence Pillar was added as a part of the well-architected framework later as a realization of the fact that customers in the cloud may have expertise in creating, but maybe not operations. Often organizations may ignore the operational outcomes or may think about it later. However, we should consider operational excellence as one of the legs of a three-legged stool, where the other two legs are business and development. If you choose to stand on the stool without operational excellence, then it may be a very dangerous balancing act which you are opting for. Let's see how we can apply this as a foundation of your well-architected solutions. Components. As any of the pillars of the well-architected framework, the security pillar also covers the following two broad areas: design principles, definitions. Design principles. There are several design principles that are highlighted in the Operational Excellence pillar, part of a well-architected framework that you need to consider following if you wish to achieve operational excellence for your applications that are hosted at AWS. 8. Perform operations as code. Since your cloud infrastructure is all software and has virtual components, they can all be automated. You can start by using infrastructure as a code service to deploy the environments and then introduce automated logging, monitoring, and change management. 9. Make frequent, small, reversible changes. Your environment will need changes over time, and you should determine a frequency of these changes depending on their impact, and also ensure they are frequent but at the same time small changes which do not impact customers. You should make use of snapshots wherever possible to reverse those changes if required. 10. Refine operations procedures frequently. As new services and features are introduced, your operational procedures should be able to incorporate them to make them more efficient. Your operations team should be able to review them frequently and make sure they are tested and documented in a timely manner. 11. Anticipate failure. You need to prepare for failure by proactively testing various scenarios and having automations in place to remove or mitigate the failures. 12. Learn from all operational failures. Any kind of operational failure should be taken as a lesson to not repeat the same mistake again. This starts with a postmortem and includes corrective action and ends with sharing information at all organizational levels. Definitions. AWS outlined 5 focus areas that encompass operational excellence in the cloud: organization, prepare, operate, evolve. Let's go into the details of each of them to understand them better and how we can use them to secure our cloud environment. Organization. Organization priorities. Understanding the organizational priorities and reviewing them timely ensures that you reap the benefits of all the efforts that have been put in place and achieve your business goals. 1. Evaluate external customer needs. As a collective, proactive, all the important stakeholders from various business verticals should evaluate what the external customer needs are and how you can best serve them. 2. Evaluate internal customer needs. Your internal customers, which include your workforce and other teams and organization, is equally important as your external customers. The key stakeholders should focus on their needs as well. 3. Evaluate governance requirements. You decide your priorities. You should be aware of the overall management approach decided by the senior executives to control and direct your organization. This ensures that strategies, directives, and instructions from management are carried out systematically and effectively. 4. Evaluate external compliance requirements. Similar to governance requirements, by being aware of the compliance requirements, your organization can demonstrate you have conformed to specific requirements in laws, regulations, contracts, strategies, and policies. 5. Evaluate threat landscape. You consider all the threats to your business, be it competition, liability, operational, or information security related. The list of these threats should also be constantly updated to determine your priorities. 6. Evaluate trade-offs. In case of multiple alternatives and objectives, you need to consider the trade-off of choosing one over the other, and if losing something means foregoing a benefit or opportunity against your business outcomes. 7. Manage benefits and risks. You need to be able to take calculated risks and take decisions which can be reversed. Considering a benefit of a particular change may result in being exposed to a risk. However, if you can manage that or easily revert the change, then that is worth trying. Operating model. A well-defined organizational operating model gives a clear understanding of responsibilities, will reduce the frequency of conflicting and redundant efforts. This further helps achieve business outcomes due to a strong alignment and relationships between business, development, and operations teams. There are two main aspects of operating model. 1. Operating model 2x2 representations. With the help of various illustrations, you can understand the relationship between teams in your environment. You can use one or more than one of the operating models depending on your organizational strategy or stage of development. Fully separated operating model. The activities in each quadrant are performed by a separate team. Work is passed between teams through mechanisms such as work requests, work queues, tickets, or by using an IT service management ITSM system. While there are clear sets of responsibilities, such model has a risk of teams becoming narrowly specialized, physically isolated, or logically isolated, hindering communication and collaboration. Separated Application Engineering and Operations, AEO, and Infrastructure Engineering and Operations, IEO, with centralized governance. This model follows the you build it, you run it methodology. Your application engineers and developers perform both the engineering and the operation of their workloads. Similarly, your infrastructure engineers perform both the engineering and operation of the platforms they use to support application teams. Separated AEO and IEO with centralized governance and a service provider. This is similar to the previous one. However, by addition of a service provider, such as AWS Managed Services, you can make benefit from their expertise in setting up cloud infrastructure and meet security and compliance requirements. Separated AEO and IEO with decentralized governance. In this model, while the application and infrastructure teams still have separate responsibilities, with the decentralized governance, the application team has fewer constraints. They are free to engineer and operate new platform capabilities in support of their workload. 2. Relationships and ownership. You may choose any type of operating model. However, you need to have a clear understanding of the ownership of various resources and processes. The team members should be well aware of their responsibilities, and identified owners need to have a set performance target to continuously improve the business outcomes. Organizational culture. Often org culture may be very ingrained in the org. You have to put this in your culture that you are supporting your team members effectively, so that the team members can support operations and help you realize the desired business outcome. 1. Executive sponsorship. Your senior leadership should be the sponsor, advocate, and driver for the adoption of best practices and evolution of the organization. 2. Team members are empowered to take action when outcomes are at risk. The operations team members should have enough resources and escalations mechanisms to respond to events which may impact business outcomes. 3. Escalation is encouraged. Continuing on the empowerment bit, the team members should not hesitate to escalate to the highest authorities to move things, and practice should be followed to escalate in time. 4. Communications are timely, clear, and actionable. Be it planned maintenance activities, sales events, or a change freeze window, all events should be communicated by including the context, details, and time. This allows the team to prepare for such events and does not catch them by surprise when an issue occurs. Services such as AWS Systems Managers can be used to maintain the operational change calendar and notify stakeholders. 5. Experimentation is encouraged. You cannot invent without experimenting, and it should happen constantly. A lot of experiments may fail, and your team members should not be chastised for a failure. Instead, you may assist your workforce to experiment with proper organization. 6. Team members are enabled and encouraged to maintain and grow their skill sets. In order to enable team members to work on new technologies and support additional responsibilities, they should be encouraged to develop their skills. Moving to the cloud itself can be a big learning curve, and with the frequent introduction of new services and features, a learning culture plays a significant role in keeping up to speed. Various AWS resources like blogs, online tech talks, certifications, events, and labs can be used to support your team members' upskilling. 7. Resource teams appropriately. Your team members should have well-defined roles and responsibilities. In order to make them support your workloads effectively, they should be provided with sufficient resources and tools. 8. Diverse opinions are encouraged and sought within and across teams. You should seek diverse perspective about your approaches through cross-team collaboration. This reduces the risk of confirmation bias and leads to multiple idea generation. Prepare. Prepare is all about setting things up for success through telemetry, development toolchain, and making informed decisions. There are 4 main areas of engagement. Design telemetry. Telemetry allows you to gather important data from your resources and keep you in control of your workload. 1. Implement application telemetry. Your applications should be designed to publish metrics related to performance, status, and desired results. By using CloudWatch Logs agent on your EC2 instances, you can export logs as well as publish custom metrics to Amazon CloudWatch endpoint. 2. Implement and configure workload telemetry. Similar to application, your workloads should also publish data related to its status. Almost all the services have relevant CloudWatch metrics, which you can monitor, and for the custom workloads, you can publish custom metrics to CloudWatch to monitor metrics such as HTTP status codes, API latency, etc. 3. Implement user activity telemetry. By gathering information about advanced analytics related to user activity such as transactions, click patterns, and engagement, you can make informed business decisions and custom targeting for your end users. 4. Implement dependency telemetry. Apart from the critical components, you should also configure your workloads to emit telemetry data for resources on which your workloads are dependent on. This could be vendor systems, internet weather, or external databases. 5. Implement transaction traceability. In the world of complex applications, countless transactions happen between components and having the workloads to emit the information about transactional flow can help you identify issues faster. AWS X-Ray helps to analyze and debug production, distributed applications seamlessly. Improve flow. 1. Use version control. Version control for your workloads enable you to track changes and releases, which can further help you to introduce small, incremental changes, as well as help in rollback whenever necessary. Services such as AWS CodeCommit and CloudFormation can help you in managing version control of your infrastructure as well as code. 2. Test and validate changes. With cloud, you don't have to worry about the cost and time to set up new infrastructure. For any changes, you can follow A/B testing or blue-green deployments with a parallel infrastructure and test your changes. 3. Use configuration management systems. Instead of manual methods, you can use configuration management systems in the form of AWS native services, such as Systems Manager, or hybrid solutions like Chef, Puppet, etc. This reduces the efforts as well as errors in changes to the environment. 4. Use build and deployment management systems. Similar to config management, you can also set up your build and deployment systems in form of CI/CD pipelines using AWS developer tools such as CodeCommit, CodeDeploy, and CodePipeline. 5. Perform patch management. Performing system patches in a timely and organized manner not only reduces the security risks, but also helps you avail the latest features available with new versions. Most of the AWS managed services take away the burden of updating the latest patches, and for services like EC2, you can use Systems Manager to update patches in your operating systems after testing. 6. Shared design standards. Having a shared design standard enables minimal development efforts for your teams working in isolation. Your teams can share these designs through AWS Lambda, CodeCommit, and S3, and also make use of SNS to keep them updated with the latest changes. 7. Implement practices to improve code quality. By using test-driven development, code reviews, and guidelines, you can improve the code quality, which minimizes defects as well as development efforts. 8. Use multiple environments. By having separate development, test, and production environments, you can ensure your workload operates as intended in the final deployment. This can be done through different stages in API gateways or by using different VPC for each environment. 9. Make frequent, small, reversible changes. Backed by configuration, build, and deployment management solutions, you can make small changes which increase the pace of innovation and also are easy to troubleshoot and roll back in case of any issues. 10. Fully automate integration and development. The entire chain of build, deployment, and testing should be automated to reduce errors and deployment efforts. Mitigate deployment risks. 1. Plan for unsuccessful changes. With the help of timed snapshots or backups and a rollback plan in place, you can ensure that even if there is a failed deployment, your production environment can continue to run as desired. 2. Test and validate changes. Any changes in your lifecycle stages can be tested and validated by creating parallel systems. You can also make sure of AWS CloudFormation to deploy changes which allow you to see the effect of a drift and also easily roll back them. 3. Use deployment management systems. By building a CI/CD pipeline using AWS services such as CodeCommit, CodeDeploy, CodePipeline, etc., you can track and implement changes in an automated process with minimum errors. 4. Test using limited deployments. Instead of full-scale changes, you can test using deployment canary testing or one-box deployments to confirm the desired outcome of your changes. 5. Deploy using parallel environments. With the help of blue-green deployments, you can deploy changes in a new environment and route traffic to the new ones. A simple example would be creating a new load balancer and EC2 instances for the new environment. Once you are ready to move the changes to production, you can simply change the DNS record in Route 53 to point to the new ALB. 6. Deploy frequent, small, reversible changes. A change with a smaller scope results in faster remediation and easier troubleshooting. You can do a lot of them to keep up the pace of innovation. 7. Fully automate integration and deployment. Instead of manual efforts, your integration and deployment should be fully automate to reduce efforts and errors. 8. Automate testing and rollback. With the help of canaries and various test benches, testing of your changes should be automated with mechanisms in place to automatically roll them back for a minimal production impact. Understand operational readiness. 1. Ensure personnel capability. With the help of AWS training resources, you can ensure that your workforce from various domains is equipped with the knowledge to run operations successfully. 2. Ensure consistent review of operational readiness. You should have recurring review of your operational readiness to ensure it can run your workloads. Services such as AWS Config Rules and Security Hub ensure that your environment is aligned with best practices and standards. 3. Use runbooks to perform procedures. You should run automated runbooks to respond to events or achieve an outcome. By having the runbooks in form of a code, you can ensure consistent, error-free execution. 4. Use playbooks to identify issues. Similar to Runbook, you need to have automated playbooks to investigate issues. This helps you have a consistent and prompt response in case of a failure of the system. 5. Make informed decisions to deploy systems and changes. You should analyze the benefit and risk of your deployments before making changes and evaluate against your workforce capabilities and governance requirements. Operate. As an important part of operations, you should be aware of your workload and operations performance through KPIs and metrics. You should also be equipped with processes to respond to events which may impact their performance. Understand workload health. 1. Identify key performance indicators. You need to identify the key performance indicators of your business and customer outcomes, which determine if your workload is working efficiently towards desired results. These can be in terms of orders, revenue, customer satisfaction score, etc. 2. Define workload metrics. Based on your KPIs, you should measure the performance of your workload. Relating the business performance with the workload metrics can help you benchmark your operational efforts. With the help of CloudWatch Log Agent on your server, you can determine the custom metric which you need to define and monitor. 3. Collect and analyze workload metrics. From various types of workloads, such as applications, API calls, dependent services, etc., you can collect logs and aggregate them to CloudWatch logs or export them to S3. You can further analyze them by using CloudWatch Insights or Glue to make meaningful conclusions. 4. Establish workload metrics baselines. An appropriate baseline for each metric to set up which helps you identify if your workload is delivering expected results. If there is a metric exceeding threshold, then it should result in a trigger to investigate. 5. Learn expected patterns of activity for workload. By continuously analyzing your workload pattern, you can enable anomaly detection quickly if there is a deviation from normal. Services such as CloudWatch Anomaly Detection can help you surface anomalies with minimum user intervention. 6. Alert when workload outcomes are at risk. If you're using metrics to monitor your workload performance, You should have alarms in place to alert you if they exceed a certain threshold. 7. Alert when workload anomalies are detected. Similarly, outcomes of CloudWatch anomaly detection should be configured to alert you with an alarm if any anomaly is detected in your logs. 8. Validate the achievement of outcomes and the effectiveness of KPIs and metrics. All the monitoring efforts should be validated by using business intelligence tools and reiterate to make changes till they are aligned with your business goals. Understand operational health. 1. Identify key performance indicators. You need to identify the key performance indicators of your business and customer outcomes which determine if your operations are working aligned towards desired results. These can be in terms of new feature releases, customer cases, or uptime of your services. 2. Define operations metrics. You should have operational metrics by which you can measure their effectiveness in achieving the KPIs. For example, time to resolve, TTR, an incident or new deployment success rate can be considered as metrics to measure your business KPIs of uptime or new feature release. 3. Collect and analyze operations metrics. You can aggregate the operational metrics from various sources in CloudWatch Logs and S3 and analyze them through CloudWatch Insights or Glue. 4. Establish operations metrics baselines. Once the metrics are in place, you can baseline them according to your business outcomes and put in efforts to improve them toward a benchmarking criterion. 5. Learn expected patterns of activity for operations. By a consistent logging, you can identify patterns and anomalies in behavior if there is a deviation from usual. 6. Alert when workload outcomes are at risk. If your metrics go beyond a threshold which impacts your workloads, you can configure alerts with the help of CloudWatch alarms to be notified in time. 7. Alert when operations anomalies are detected. You may not always have a set threshold for your metrics, and in these cases, CloudWatch anomaly detection can help you by identifying expected values by pattern recognition and machine learning. 8. Validate the achievement of outcomes and the effectiveness of KPIs and metrics. Your business and leadership team should review your operational KPIs and metrics to see if they align with the business goals and provide recommendations if necessary. Respond to events. 1. Use processes for event, incident, and problem management. You should anticipate planned and unplanned operational events, and processes and tools should be in place for each category to reduce the time to remediate them. For AWS resources, you can use Ops Center in the Systems Manager to get a summary of all the issues in your resources at once, and also can take corresponding actions from there. 2. Have a process per alert. You should have a playbook every alert, and that should be updated regularly to avoid surprises in case of an incident. These processes should have a well-defined owner, and emphasis should be laid on making them automated as much as possible. 3. Prioritize operational events based on business impact. Depending on the business impact and criticality of the event, your operational events should be categories, and focus should be put in rectifying them accordingly. This would also mean that any feature release change could be deprioritized over an event which impacts customer orders. 4. Define escalation paths. Having well-defined escalation paths in your runbooks and playbooks ensures that you have the right person to contact in case of an event and enables you to act quickly if a human action is required. 5. Enable push notifications. With the help of push notifications in the form of email or SMS, you can keep your users aware of any service impact and progress to the investigation. 6. Communicate status through dashboards. You can have internal and external dashboards to communicate the status of your services and appropriate metrics. With the help of CloudWatch Dashboard and Amazon QuickSight, Various stakeholders can be made aware of the latest status and use the data to relate to other dependent services. 7. Automate response to events. With every iteration, you should try to automate the most common scenarios to reduce error and take time to remediate problems. With CloudWatch alarms, you can define actions specific to EC2 or use SNS to trigger Lambda functions for custom logic. Evolve. Evolve is all about continuous improvement. As an organization, you can stop the same bad things happening again, or maybe just make new mistakes and not repeat the old mistakes. You can make small changes in your processes or code, make incremental improvement to your environment. The combination of the following helps your organization evolve its operational excellence over time. Learn, share, and improve. 1. Have a process for continuous improvement. Rather than one-time efforts, there should be standardization of continuous improvement efforts, and processes should be put in place on how to make small improvements. 2. Perform post-incident analysis. You should have processes in place by which you can review the root causes of customer or business impacting events. Rather than putting a blame on anyone, efforts should be put to ensure that the same mistakes or errors do not happen again. A simple exercise would be assembling all the stakeholders and asking the 5 whys. 3. Implement feedback loops. With the help of feedback loops in your workload and processes, you can be informed about issues and improvement areas on a recurring basis. This helps your environment evolve over time. 4. Perform knowledge management. Your workforce should be equipped with the knowledge they need to do their job effectively. This means that the contents should be refreshed regularly and old information archived. 5. Define drivers for improvement. By aggregating logs from various workloads, services, applications, and infrastructure, you can have a detailed view of how the entire ecosystem of your business is functioning. You can further visualize them using QuickSight by correlating various metrics and come up with improvement plans. 6. Validate insights. Instead of working in isolation, you should validate the performance of your workloads with the dependent environments and business teams. This not only provides additional scope of improvement, but also helps you learn the best practices from other teams and how all of them work towards achieving the organizational goal. 7. Perform operations metrics reviews. Your operational metrics reviews should be done by the leadership from various business areas. 8. Document and share lessons learned. Keep shared repository of your documentation for all your teams, which can be used by them as a reference to avoid repeating the same mistakes again. 9. Allocate time to make improvements. You can set up dedicated time for improvement of your operations and gather cross-team members to participate in activities. By setting up parallel environments and manually breaking them can help you test your process and tools and come up with improvement plans. Review based on Organization Excellence Pillar. Some of the questions which you will be going through when you review your workload against the security pillar of the well-architected framework are: OPS 1. How do you determine what your priorities are? OPS 2. How do you structure your organization to support your business outcomes? OPS 3. How does your organizational culture support your business outcomes? OPS 4. How do you design your workload so that you can understand its state? OPS 5. How do you reduce defects, ease remediation, and improve flow into production? OPS 6. How do you mitigate deployment risks? OPS 7. How do you know that you're ready to support a workload? OPS 8. How do you understand the health of your workload? OPS 9. How do you understand the health of your operations? OPS 10. How do you manage workload and operations events? OPS 11. How do you evolve operations? The answers to these questions during the review help you identify any gaps in your existing workloads and implement the best practices in your AWS environment.